What's going on, YouTube? We're just here bringing you guys a preview for all the games of Week 5. We'll be focusing on the Seattle Dragons and the Houston Roughnecks game. Andrew, what do you think the keys are for the Roughnecks today?
With B.J. Daniels starting and his mobility, the front seven for the Houston Roughnecks can have their hands full. I think this game is going to be a lot closer than people think. I think B.J. Daniels starting is going to add a whole new level to this game, Tommy.
Yeah, I think the 12-point spread is absurd, quite frankly. I mean, Seattle's got a good enough defense to at least keep it a game. I don't know if they're going to win the game.
I can imagine it being one of those games where the Roughnecks end up covering their 12-point spread, but it comes in the end.
Yeah, I agree.
When the game's kind of already settled.
I think Seattle, their defense has to be a little more opportunistic. They dropped a pick last week against Georgetown, who would have swung the game, would have gotten a great field position. They made a couple plays like that of P.J. Walker, a couple of plays where he's able to escape. You make one or two plays on him, you take care of the football, and I think you have a chance. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but I think they could do it.
Yeah, and the flip side of that, the Roughnecks defense seems to be the most opportunistic defense we've seen in the XFL through 5 weeks.
Yeah, and if you look at the stats, I think it's easy to say the Roughnecks defense isn't as good because they give up the most points and the most passing yards. But I think the easy counter is that they're always playing they're always ahead, so teams have to throw the ball more against them. Are always gunning.
I mean, when the chips are down, they make plays that matter.
Yeah, of course.
As we saw versus the Renegades last week.
I think it'd be interesting to see what they play like with not such a big lead, and teams could be able to run the ball. And I think Seattle will probably have to run the ball some, so that'll be interesting to see what their defense looks like. What's your prediction for the score today for us?
I'm gonna go Houston Roughnecks 27. Seattle Dragons 23.
Okay. I'm going to go Dragons 24, Houston 22. I'm going to pick the upset. I'm never going to pick against my Dragons. But I do think they have a chance. I think Houston coming off an emotional win. I do think Seattle is hungry. I think their defense can make enough plays. And I'm thinking maybe just the team is sparked by B.J. Daniels being lined up. I'm going to pick them for the upset.
Okay. Let's move really quickly through the rest of the week's slate of games here. We have the Guardians at the Dallas Renegades. That's the second Saturday game.
I think that was a 7-point line when I saw. I think that's. We were talking with our guy Sean, who we might have go over the spreads more intently, just for you betting fans out there. I think this game's going to be a lot closer than people think as well. I think with Landry Jones being out for at least a couple weeks, I think Dallas.
Who is their starter?
I don't even remember.
Oof.
Yeah, research team was a little slow this morning.
I might have to pick the Renegades even at home. I think if they get some chemistry going with that quarterback, I think they can top whatever the Renegades.
He was okay week 1. They lost week 1.
That's right.
Who they played week 1?
They played, why am I blanking? They played the Battlehawks. That was Tomu's first start.
Right. And the Battlehawks are one of the best teams in the XFL. And they hung in that game, so I don't think Tomu, granted, that team wasn't quite rolling.
Battlehawks versus Defenders is the first game. I might have to watch that one. What do you think about the DC Defenders? Now think about it. They're back home.
I know that they're back home. I'm wondering if that crowd is going to come back, though. They've had 2 bad losses. Is that crowd going to be as good as it was those first 2 weeks when they were rolling through everyone?
I think there's something about being at home, though.
I think they'll play better. I think for sure they're not going to get blown out again. You got to wonder what's going on inside that locker room, though. Cardell Jones. Again, I'm not reporting this. I've heard he's unhappy with his situation down in DC. I don't know. That's not me reporting. That's just speculation. But I think he's going to have to play a lot better. He had 4 interceptions in their Week 3 loss. Didn't play great last week. Was benched in the fourth quarter. Some of that was probably just to preserve him. So there's why you're going to play your best player if you're down 25 points. But what's your prediction for that game?
I'm gonna pick this. No, I can't pick against the Battlehawks.
I think I have to pick the Battlehawks.
Yeah,
I think the way Georgetown is playing right now, as long as he's able to use his legs, I think the defense is good. I think they have a good kicking game. So in a close game, the tie is going to go to them. The tie in quotes, I guess. He banged the 58-yard kick a couple weeks ago. I think you have to pick the Battlehawks. I think it's tough to pick against them.
Let's move on to the Vipers at Wildcats. I don't know if you heard the reports that came out this morning from NBC Sports Philadelphia. Elliott Shores Park reported that the Wildcats turned down Johnny Manziel in order for Josh Johnson to be the number one. They wanted to have Josh Johnson become the number 1 QB from the start. Turned down Johnny Manziel. That's according to Elliott Shores Park of NBC Sports
Right,
Philadelphia.
and of course he was reporting, he was speculating, but that was what he had heard. He was
That's what he has heard.
You couldn't take these too seriously, but yes. But
there's a lot of XFL chatter going on in the NFL Combine.
I think
just last weekend.
I think. What was I gonna say? I think that shows a lot of confidence. Excuse me, that the team has in Josh Johnson. I think they had Josh Johnson slated as their quarterback. Then Johnny Manziel was saying maybe I'd come if I could play in LA. They said no, and I think he's looked pretty good. He misses a couple. I think the issue with Josh Johnson, the tape I've seen, I haven't seen enough tape on him. I think he misses a lot of throws just by like a hair. He'll have a guy, he'll miss him by a step, and I think he doesn't have the consistency to make those throws.
Josh Johnson is a 10-year pro in the NFL.
I think he needs to get his timing there. Yeah, but I think Tampa Bay showed some good stuff. We were talking last week. We watched that Tampa Bay DC game, and I was saying I think the culture they're building in Tampa Bay.
Well, if they can run the ball well like they did last week, then they'll win.
And but I think more even beyond this year, I think even years to come, because the players are going to come and go in the XFL. The best players are going to leave. PJ Walker will assume is going to leave. Jordan Talmo, is probably going to leave. A lot of the best players. But I think if you can build a strong culture and have good principles about stopping the run, being physical in defense, and running the ball on offense, I think you really have a chance to last. And I think even if this year isn't going as well as the Tampa Bay Vipers may have hoped, I think they can get some good wins. They could still be in the playoff hunt, potentially. If DC keeps sliding, they'll be 2-3 after this week. They stay in the hunt.
I don't know.
They stay in the hunt.
I think they lose.
They stay in.
I think they lose tomorrow.
You think? At home?
Traveling down to Los Angeles. They have to go across the country. That's what the Defenders' first loss was in Los Angeles.
Excuse me.
So Josh Johnson plays well. I don't know.
I don't know.
Well, we'll see if the Wildcats made the best decision tomorrow to turn away from Manziel.
I think one quick thing before we go. Who's your X factor for the Seattle Dragons Houston Roughnecks game? The games we'll be watching.
It's got to be B.J. Daniels.
I don't know. Yeah, I think
the game's going to be dependent on what B.J. Daniels does. I feel like if B.J. Daniels comes up and dominates that defense, they won't be as opportunistic. But it's either B.J. Daniels or the play of P.J. You know what? I'd also like to see Cam Phillips come back out.
Cam Phillips, he was shut down last week. That was wild. I think he has to play better this week. Yeah. I don't think you can count on not getting that kind of production from Cam Phillips and winning games.
Still think the Roughnecks win, though.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, thanks for tuning in. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe for all the exclusive XFL content.